Ever since arriving on Earth, Superman, or Absolute Superman, has had a pretty interesting time and upbringing as a version of Superman, yet here he is tested even more than ever before, slowly being corrupted by Earth, its problems, its people, into potentially becoming the son of the demon. But before we see how that plays out, him slowly siding with the villains and adopting and taking in their ideals, he has to actually make it there alive, as currently he's being poisoned and fighting for his very life after being shot by a kryptonite bullet, which for this Absolute Superman is the first time he has ever had to deal with something like this. Of course, being forced to work with the Omega Men as they treat him and try to find out what's going on, as no one so far has even heard of kryptonite or what it does to Kryptonians such as Superman. Heck, they don't even know Superman is an alien or what he's truly capable of. So as they go to do some makeshift surgery on Kal-El, him being wide awake and not unconscious during it, they're eventually able to get one of the two pieces of the kryptonite bullets out of his system, yet the second one is still stuck inside of him, its form being unstable. It's slowly coming apart and turning from the bullet form into almost like a kryptonite liquid that's going to infect his system and eventually just straight up kill him if they don't get it out. And with his very life in the balance, Superman decides he can do a better job himself, taking the tweezers and literally performing surgery on himself while awake and bleeding out and being affected by the kryptonite. The pain and agony is so great, Kal even says it feels like Krypton is dying all over again, but inside of him. Eventually though, he is of course able to get the kryptonite fragment out of him, as then he succumbs to the pain and passes out. Though that solves the kryptonite problem, that still leaves the effects of it, as he still has two gaping holes in his chest as he is bleeding out and dying fast. And if they don't hurry up and somehow able to patch him up, they're going to lose the last Kryptonian ever, possibly in the universe, with Superman even going on to think, if I die, then the last vestige of my home dies with me, Krypton. That's what this bullet is trying to kill. So I fight right now to do what I failed to do before. I fight to save Krypton. But this time he is not alone, as the Omega Men here, the group, has a very secret and powerful weapon, which is just a clue that's going to lead into a very big reveal going forward, as it obviously would be if you just think about it for a second. But they pull out some strange device, a father box, using it on Superman, allowing it in its strange energies to heal him and fix him up. But with Superman now in stable condition, that just leaves some of the other loose ends, if you will, to be tied up in what's going on with them, as in Lois Lane here, after being recaptured by Lazarus from her betrayal and going against them, to side with Superman, but now being visited by the head and almost religious figure in this universe, Ra's al Ghul, the mastermind and final boss of everything Lazarus related. Him opening Lois's cell, telling her that you will answer my questions as if your life depended on it, giving her the whole intimidation spill, yada yada yada. But all of this isn't anything new to Lois Lane. You know, she was a Lazarus higher up and a pretty good officer when she worked for them. As she goes on to spill out everything that Ra's al Ghul was going to convey, as she goes on to say that you never show your face in public, so you wanted me to be especially impressed that you came all the way here just to tell me that despite my arrest in Kansas and betrayal of Lazarus, I'm not being fired, nor am I allowed to quit. You're here to remind me that I work for Lazarus, for you, and that there's still work that needs to be done. To encourage my allegiance, you're going to remind me that you literally own my father's legs, the advanced prosthetics that he has, and that if you wanted to, you could disable him with a flip of a switch. And of course, she was correct. That is essentially what all he was going to say, but there is one minor detail that she has left out. That no, Ra's al Ghul, the final boss, if you will, isn't just going to flip a switch and disable him. If Lois Lane fails him once more, Ra's al Ghul will put her father out of his misery with his own bare hands. And with that, Lois Lane just snaps, lunging forward with a knife aimed at his throat to finally kill him and take him out. But Ra's al Ghul only has two words: do it. Open my throat, kill me, and I promise you I will rise again tomorrow. But can you say the same? You, Lois, hold your father's life in your own hands. Remember your love for him as you fulfill your duty and bring me my son, of course referring to Superman, which is really interesting and is going to be expanded upon later. But Ra's al Ghul is set on the idea of Superman, Kal-El, this alien, being his son, becoming the new son of the demon head, as he is widely known and referred to as. But from here on out, we take a little bit of a time jump. Skipping over weeks ahead into the future, Superman has allied himself with the Omega Men. Of course, because they have one, saved his life, and two, they are seemingly taking the fight to the Lazarus Corporation and trying to do good, even if we are going to see that it's a little twisted in how they're trying to do it. And the first reason why is, as they raid another one of Lazarus's base in an army camp, the Omega Men, specifically Omega Prime, their leader, is about to slice down and kill one of the peacemakers, but it's instantly stopped by Superman, as of course, Superman has a no-kill rule, and that even extends extends to his allies even in all-out war. And Absolute Superman is no different from all of the other Supermans, as he even goes on to say, "You saved my life and I am grateful, but if you insist on using deadly force, you'll wish you have just left me to die." In which, yeah, normally this would be a grueling battle for the Omega Men and their group against the Lazarus, but Superman is just a well-oiled machine, a powerhouse, so he just zooms in and does it all alone, completely soloing this entire base. No matter what kind of defense, weapons, and abilities the Lazarus Corporation might have, Superman just plows through them all, even taking time to self-reflect while all of the equipment and tanks are just burning due to the suit's power and expending some of his solar energy. He lets his guard down a little bit too much, as he is then just grabbed by some powerful machines as they start to literally pull him apart from every end of his body. And even while this is happening, his suit, Soul, the almost artificial intelligence in it, goes on to tell Cal, as he activates his self-defense mode, that your wounds are opening, they're bleeding again, and no matter what happens, you cannot allow the Omega Men to use that device on you once more. You must never go near that box again. Yes, the Father Box, which is obviously connected in some way or fashion to DARKSEID, in which this absolute DARKSEID inside of this absolute universe, he is the universe. He fully merged with it, and everything in this universe is his perverted and altered take on the main DC universe. And so after the battle, while they're back at their base, we see Superman talking with Jimmy Olsen about said box. Primus, their leader, no one really knows what the box is and what it can truly do. Some people say it fell from space. Somebody else said it was dug up here on Earth where it had been buried for millions of years. But all that Primus says is that it comes from God, which this line right here just throws everything in question. If the seemingly good guys, the Omega Men, if their leader is calling the Father Box a device usually created by Darkseid and forces of Apocalypse, if she is saying it comes from God and Darkseid is their God, that just throws everything, their motives, what they're trying to do, into question. Because Superman even goes on to say that the box is kind of sentient, and it has a name. It told him its name. It's called a Father Box. As it was removing the final pieces and healing him up, it also showed him visions. He saw an entire planet, a world on fire, erupting with flames. Fire pits the size of oceans. Slums that were packed with tortured masses, which obviously sounds like some sort or version of Apocalypse, the planet that Darkseid is usually from and rules. But Superman goes on to say that no, this isn't a vision of the past or some faraway planet, it's the world that's coming, this world, Earth, some sort of premonition of the future. Of course, Jimmy Olsen goes to rationalize this, saying what you saw was clearly what'll happen if we don't stop Lazarus. He then gets into the entire reason why he wanted to become an Omega Man in the first place, to stop and defend the world from all the evils and corruption and bad stuff that plagues the planet, even going as far as to name drop one of the few times he has been called this. He names the Joker as some of the things that he has found out during his travels and some of the information he knows from being an Omega Man. And speaking of corruption, it seems like the Peacemakers are back at it again. There's a protest going on back over in Pakistan, the same town where the Peacemaker Smith, who's currently this universe's version of Metallo, he shot and massacred an entire group of people. And now more Peacemakers are on the scene to quell this protest and possibly kill more innocent civilians. And so when they get there, Superman isn't too kind or happy in the slightest, taking out more of his rage, his built up anger at not only this situation, but the world, this Earth that he has now found himself on. Again, just letting loose to a point, he's not killing anybody, but he's making them very close and wishing they were dead. The AI in his suit, Soul, even going on to further say and confirm that the Father Box, the device from before, is extremely dangerous. And now he only has really limited sentience, so he cannot truly understand and grasp the emotions of being frightened or scared, but it is Kal-El who should be scared of what this clearly corrupted world and people might do to him, or the sort of man he is starting to turn into, which is all well and good advice, but Superman has a little bit of a different perspective. As he goes on to say, Soul, you saved my life, you're all I have left of Krypton, but I'm getting awfully tired of people telling me who I am when I don't even know who I am myself. So do me a favor and just shut up. As he gets done just eviscerating and almost incinerating, dripping with lava and power after destroying all of the Peacemakers present on the battlefield. But he keeps pushing on to find where these civilians and where these protesters are. But even as he does so, he even thinks to himself, every day I spend under the sun on this planet, I grow stronger, angrier, further removed from who I used to be and who I was. And the situation and what he's about to see does not make this any better in the slightest, as he sees just the people, the innocent people, the civilians hung, murdered by the Peacemakers and the Lazarus Corporation, seemingly for fun. And once again, this just goes to further radicalize and anger Superman. So when backup arrives and more peacemakers arrive, Primus just starts lashing out, cutting, doing her thing, almost killing some of them, all while Superman does nothing and just watch, seething with anger. She even goes as far as to pull out a weapon right in front of Superman, shooting one of the peacemakers point blank. Now it's left kind of ambiguous what happened. Did Superman finally succumb to the hopelessness of trying to better the people here and just let her start killing the bad guys, even though some of them clearly might deserve it for their actions? But we eventually find out that no, Superman, using his super speed, was able to catch the bullet and stop her from killing, but he hesitated. He almost didn't. He's so close to being pushed far enough to join this corrupted planet in this war instead of rising above, sticking to his morals as Superman should. And they even get into a little argument about this. Prime is going on to tell Superman that he is sent here for a reason, and to stop something like Lazarus, you don't fight something like them by pulling your punches. She can see the anger inside of him begging to come out. All he has to do is just kill one man, Ra's al Ghul. Side with her to kill him. One death to save millions. No, billions of lives. Of course, all of this is going to confuse Superman even more, pushing him more into uncertainty. But as this argument goes on, they realize something. They left a man behind. Not just anyone, Jimmy Olsen himself, as he is now deep inside of enemy territory, completely captured and being interrogated by Lazarus, specifically Lois Lane. And Superman has taken a liking to Jimmy Olsen. He's one of the only people inside of the Omega Man group that he truly trusts more than the others. Certainly not their leader, Primus. So when he goes missing, they decide to launch a full-on attack on Lazarus and their head. Moving over to the Greenland, one of their main Lazarus research facilities, we see just absolute chaos reigning through. Superman coming here in a fit of rage, moving like a force of nature, a hurricane, just mowing through Lazarus's best defenses. All while Ra's al Ghul himself watches from inside. This was all planned by Brainiac because director Al Ghul has wanted to meet his so-called son, even down to the location of where this is, because Brainiac has been running millions of simulations a minute. He's finally deduced and figured out that Superman's absorption of solar energy seems to be the source of his very power. So when you send him to a place like this where the sun won't rise for the next 30 days, slowly but surely as he depletes himself, he won't be as strong as he could be. He'll exhaust his solar reserves. But if there's one thing that we come to find out that Ra's al Ghul hates, it's brokenness and weakness. He doesn't want Superman weakened. He wants to fight him at his strongest. In his own words, he wants to make Superman whole. So when this universe's version of Metallo comes in, Peacemaker Smith, he is tasked with getting his revenge and having another shot at Superman. Though this time, he is told not to hold back, fully fight with full force and fight to kill. Ra's al Ghul even handing him more kryptonite to go against the Man of Steel once more. Because what good is a son to the all-powerful, if you will, Ra's al Ghul, if he's weak and dies in battle against someone like Peacemaker Smith here? No. If he's going to be an Al Ghul, the son of the Demon Head, then he needs to be strong and he needs to prove it. But I mean, outside, you would be a fool not to see he's doing exactly that, just raining down hellfire upon anybody standing in his way. Though the caveat, even as Brainiac points out, they are quite still alive. Superman hurts and stuns but doesn't kill them, just stranding them miles away from the battlefield. And so phase 2 of Brainiac's, or more specifically Ra's al Ghul's plan, kicks into action. The Omega Men arriving to the battlefield to make things even more messy and chaos. Lois Lane still capturing Jimmy Olsen, who of course isn't fully malicious and is trying to get Jimmy out so they can refine Superman. And lastly, this Metallo is finally here to get his rematch against Superman. But Superman obviously can hear this, super hearing and all. He says, I hear him coming, hearing the roar of his jetpack, his heart pounding in his chest. Peacemaker Smith is coming to kill me. He has a bullet in his gun that would do the job, forged from the rubble of my dead homeworld, kryptonite. And in their battle before, in Smallville, he almost succeeded. He's killed before, and he's been rewarded for doing it. And he will keep on killing unless he is stopped, which as soon as he flies up to confront Superman in the sky, as fast as he went up there is as fast as he comes down, dropping like a fly. Superman even going on to further say that his armor is advanced alien technology, beyond anything that this planet should be capable of producing. It has been laced throughout his entire body, one that has transformed this Christopher Smith into one of the most single powerful humans on the face of the earth. But that's the thing, Superman is not human. As we see his beaten and mangled body, Superman beat him senseless in about 4 seconds, just showing you how powerful a dead serious Superman is. Before, this battle was somewhat close, but now 4 seconds, instantly down and defeated. But that won't stop him, will it? Not for good anyway. As long as he is breathing and as long as he is alive, he's going to keep coming back and keep attacking and killing if he gets the chance. Superman even going on to note just how easy it would be to end him here. With a little more than a blink, he could use his heat vision to microwave his brain, leaving him just as a drooling idiot, lobotomizing him. Or with a puff of his breath, he can shatter his body so he'd never walk again. And even though it would be so easy for him to do so, it just goes to show you how absolute and moral of a character Cal is. Because as a normal human, it's already hard enough to do the best you can do in life and be as good as you should, even when in some instances doing the right thing seems to be the least optimal. Now imagine that same dilemma, but now you have the power to crush and level mountains with your bare hands, truly being invincible to most things on the entire face of Earth. Yet in spite of that, he chooses mercy. He chooses to spare this Peacemaker Smith, even to the enragement of Primus here, declaring that if Superman can't kill him, I'll do it myself. Which again, he stops her as well. And this is kind of her breaking point, going on to call Superman nothing but a soft little coward, that you still decide to save him after everything he has done. But again, things get even more crazy once now Ra's al Ghul and the rest of Lazarus' forces arrive to them right here, telling Primus, how dare you speak to him that way? That is the son of the demon, of course referring to himself. And no, he's not his son by blood, but he will become his son one way or another. And even as this Peacemaker Smith or Metallo, whatever you want to call him, he thought he was the chosen one, the hero in this story. But Ra's al Ghul makes something very clear to him, that he is nothing more than essentially just a sheep in wolf's clothing. A wolf would not be lying here, quivering and broken. He embodies more of the weakness and brokenness that Ra's al Ghul just despises. So Ra's al Ghul picks up his kryptonite gun to end him once and for all, and the weakness he hates. But Superman, even knowing this, still doesn't want death on the battlefield, lunging in front of the kryptonite bullet, being shot and affected by kryptonite once more, weakened even further. And this is where everything changes, where everything becomes clear about who's who and what's truly the motive in doing all of this. Ra's al Ghul going on to say, my son, I know what you're feeling. You are angry at the state of the world, and we will use that anger, you and I, to save this planet from itself, to remake this world. Isn't that what you want, my son? But of course, Kal-El goes on to say, I am not your son. And yeah, perhaps he isn't right now, but Ra's al Ghul is still under the firm belief that, yeah, not now, but he will be. As just then he is stabbed in the back by a kryptonite knife by none other than Primus herself, seemingly betraying him. And no, not just Superman, but attacking Lois and even her own Omega Men, her own army, as Ra's al Ghul continues saying and making clear that you're right. You're not worthy of being called my son, a child of an Al Ghul. Not yet, but we will teach you. We, as in your sister and I, Talia al Ghul, as we finally find out that Primus, the leader of the Omega Men group, the opposition to the Lazarus Corp, was nothing more than a fake disguise. There are no good guys in this war or on this planet. It is just evil and eviler. Talia al Ghul, the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, was simply just playing along, doing all of this to what I assume to have Superman join their cause, because that's what the Father Box has told them. They serve the will of the Father Box. They serve the will of Darkseid. Pretty obvious now when you think about it, because their whole group is literally called the Omega Men. You know, Omega, like the Omega effect, the source of what is usually Darkseid's power, which is just a crazy twist and turn of events. Even in an entirely different universe where things are completely different, Superman still can't escape Darkseid and his effects, though we will find out what happens here later as this issue and video comes to a close. As always, this was AJ here at the Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.